Hi everyone, welcome to the first video of the series. So I'm redoing this video from last year because there was a question on this year's exam, which is last year's exam, which was the first question, and they were really specific and a little bit, I suppose, harsh in how they mark this. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone's clear what is expected in this first area. So first of all, we need to be able to define a large-scale organisation. So when you see LSO, that means large-scale organisation. So there's a few ways to define it. The main one is that it employs 200 people or more. That's how the Australian Bureau of Statistics defines it. So that's the key one that almost everyone puts into an answer when it asks for a definition of a large-scale organisation. But other characteristics are that total assets more than $200 million. You need to be specific about that. You cannot say that it has substantial assets. You must say that it has total assets of more than $200 million. Annual sales revenue or income or profit is in the millions, or you could also say that it's in the billions. That's fine. And in this one, this is where you can say substantial. So last year they allowed for you to say substantial revenue or substantial profit or substantial income. So that's fine. The extent of the operations is transnational or multiple locations. So that's where a company is owned and based in one country but has branches or offices in other countries. And one that they did allow, which I hadn't come across before and I've never seen it written into an answer, was complex management structure. So they're saying that, it's got a board of directors and then it's complex from there. So look, I've never seen that used, but the other four are used a lot. Now, in terms of types of organisations, we've got corporations, which are companies, and this is the main one that most people think of when they think of a large-scale organisation. So you need to know the aim, how they're controlled, and some examples. So their aim is to, by manufacturing their goods and services, that corporations aim to make a profit and add to net assets. Now, they can be privately owned, which is they can be owned by up to 50 shareholders, or they're publicly owned, which is where they're listed on a stock exchange and owned by many shareholders. Controlled by a board of directors, so they act on behalf of the shareholders to make decisions on how the organisation is going to run. And then there's lots and lots of examples. So BHP Billiton and Westpac are some of the larger ones. Now, government business enterprise is a bit of a mixture between a government department, which we'll get to in a second, and a corporation. Now, it is owned by the government. That's important. So it is owned by the government, and there's a shareholder minister that controls. So there is some shareholder ownership. Now, the aim is to provide a service which is similar to a corporation or product to the public and make a profit. So it's there to satisfy sort of political objectives, I suppose, by providing services to the community, but it's also there to make a profit. So that's a little bit different to a government department, which we'll see in a second. So it's controlled by the board of directors, but it has lots of government input. Okay, so that's important. The government has major input into them. So that's examples are Australia Post and Vic Roads. Now, government department, we're moving further away from a corporation now, this is owned by the government and is responsible to a government minister. So the aim is to provide services to the community and to satisfy social or political objectives. So the Australian Tax Office, Centrelink, city councils, those type of things are government departments. You've got the Department of Education, Department of Human Services, etc. So they're owned by the government. They're not there to really make a profit. They're there. The government then provides that particular department funding to undertake particular projects that are going to satisfy political objectives or actually provide services to the community. And charities and foundations are fairly self-explanatory. There's plenty of ads on charities and foundations around the place. But they're there to provide services in the form of provide assistance, in the form of goods or services, or even finance to marginalised groups. Their aim is to help the broader community, so World Vision, Salvation Army, etc. Foundations give money to those who need it, such as the Heart Foundation, Shane Warne Foundation, Jane McGrath Foundation, etc. Just in terms of classifying large-scale organisations, they fit into three categories, and that's primary, which is where they extract things from the earth, such as farming, mining, etc. Secondary is where they turn those raw materials into goods. So that's where your manufacturing comes in. And then your tertiary is all your services, and they can be grouped into two different categories, which is quaternary, which is processing communication of information like newspapers and computers, etc., and quinary, which is your domestic type services of hospitals and hotels, etc. So just to recap, large scale organisations, these are the ones that you can use. Don't veer off. So a lot of people write, large market share. You do not get marks for that. So that's really important to note. These are the ones that you get marks for. 200 plus employees, assets over $200 million, substantial revenue or substantial income or substantial profit. In that, you can say that it earns, revenue in the millions or billions, something like that. Multiple locations, or best word to use is transnational. That one keeps you safe. And then, as I said, I've never seen this one used, but complex management structure. And then the types of organisations we have corporations, government business enterprises, government departments, and charities and foundations. So for more resources to help you with this topic and to find out more about our revision lecture in your area this year, go to teachingbubble.com.